Welcome everybody to a little chit chat because today is National Sasquatch Day, and here with us is I guess Dave. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you're basically like an investigator, researcher, and you kind of tell other people's stories, kind of thing. Which I guess that kind of makes you like a storyteller in a way. But I met you, this past year for the Whitehall Sasquatch Festival. But before even that, I saw you with Paul Bartholomew at Ski Manor to talk Bigfoot too. You were kind of part of the crowd. But Dave, welcome aboard. How are you?
Hi, Paul. Thank you. Thank you for having me on. I'm
You're
good.
welcome. Good. I'm glad to hear. So real quick, I guess. So how would your time at the Sasquatch Fest anyway? Was it chaotic?
Oh, it was great. It was great. I've gone over the years from actually when they started a really small festival 10 years ago, I want to say.
Yeah, that sounds
And
right.
it's just grown every year. I come back 3 years ago, and I hadn't been since 10 years ago. And I was amazed by how many people went and the number of vendors, food trucks, band playing. I mean, this was full tilt from 10 years ago. I don't even
Right.
think there was 40 or 50 people maybe
Oh my
that long
goodness.
ago. So yeah, it's really leaps and bounds. It's I go to quite a few conferences over the years, and it was one of the bigger crowds that I've seen in
That's
years.
really good. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. I remember Steve Cole was mentioning there was like over 5,000 people. And when I asked on his post, like how he got the numbers, because I was just curious, he was basically saying it was because of the shuttle. The shuttles were keeping track of how many people were getting on and stuff.
Oh,
So crazy.
interesting.
Yeah. But, yeah. So, Dave, so I guess real quick, like, uh, what kind of got you into this field to begin with, and then I'll let you go into some stories that you have to share for today.
Yeah, I've always had since a young kid, probably 10 years old, watching In Search of with Leonard Nimoy and Mysterious Encounters and all these other mystery shows. Just kind of grabbed my attention, and I had an uncle that told me his UFO experience. That really got me interested, like someone I actually knew telling me something, and he was pretty sure about what he saw, and I knew he wasn't just playing around with me, so that got my interest. I was more into that, the Loch Ness Monster, all the oddball fringe interests and mysteries, and Sasquatch too, Bigfoot too. But the film, I've always something about that film. I always said, "Wow, that's tough to be in a guy in a suit." That's like a perfect. If it is, that's the best hoax ever, which I don't think it is. But then in the '90s, reading all the reports on the internet and seeing how much information was out there, because there wasn't a lot of books on it growing up. There was very, very few books. The libraries didn't carry nothing.
No,
So you had to dig for it. And now, then with the internet, it really put a lot of information out there that was, you just didn't know how much was out there. And worldwide, it was really an eye opener. And then to have, I was just reading it so much for a couple of years, several books, thousands of reports, you know, picking through the videos from good videos to bad videos. I knew there was something more to it that I was reading reports on the BFRO and I saw they were having expeditions, and then I seen they had one for New York, Whitehall, New York, and I'm like, I gotta go. This is the closest one to me. I wanted to just get out of the armchair now and get involved, or just go out and look, see what it's like going out on one of these things. And I met a lot of great people, still friends with a lot of people today. And that's what brought me to Whitehall. And that was
that's awesome.
20 years ago this year.
Oh wow.
And so it opened up my eyes to that this is an East Coast phenomenon as well as,
Yep.
I always think it's the Pacific Northwest or the Yeti in the Himalayas or the But seeing all this credible reports right out of New York State, and then look, the more, like I said, the more information you dig, it's all over New England, all over the country, actually, and
Mm.
around the world, different continents, different similar type creatures. And that became like my East Coast capital of Bigfoot. And like I said, meeting Paul Bartholomew, Steve Culls. I joined the Nezra group back in the day. That was Steve, a lot of other great guys, and just getting my feet wet and coming from, I'm a city kid and never went out in the woods, never went camping, never exposed to it. Like I knew a few kids that were, they were into the scouts, into camping, but I never. I was more of an inner city kid playing baseball, playing all the sports. Never really ventured out into the woods. So until I went to Whitehall and camping, I never had a tent. I never had any camping gear. Didn't know how to camp. Didn't know how to set a tent up, and so that was an eye opener too. And that really gave me a love for the outdoors and nature that I just never opened to before, and I still appreciate it to this day. I'm going out tomorrow with John Wilk, meeting some people, um, meeting a spot where some people supposedly have seen it. And again, that's always hit or miss, but just getting out in the outdoors, it gives me a reason to get out of the city and drive out into the woods and get away for a couple of days. And really, if you don't see nothing, you had a great time camping, a great time checking out, especially this time of year with the foliage.
Oh yeah.
It just driving out there is a great scenery, and but yeah, that really gave me an interest in being outside. Not, you think this just a subject they're going to read about and watch about, but there was something about it was drawing me to so many people coming forward with this, and so much evidence that is out there that they don't share with people. It's I kind of got the bug that I just want to see one. I don't want to get obviously I ain't gonna have a heart attack over it, or don't. This past June we had rocks thrown at us in Western Mass. I think they call it escorted out or chased out. Yeah, it worked. I hit the fight or flight. It was just me and another guy, and he stayed calm through the whole thing. But I kind of psyched myself into something happening because the first rock come in the pond, across the pond, and it was very loud and a big splash. And we're in an area where there's no people, there's no property on the other side at all. It's just miles of woods. And it was later at night, and my buddy was whistling, and I just, hey, you shouldn't, kind of joking around, but kind of serious. I have heard from a lot of Native Americans, they teach their kids don't whistle in the woods, especially at night. So about 5 or 10 minutes go by, it got really quiet, and I have a drum with me, and I just did a couple drums, and within a few minutes, the kind of mood changed. It kind of like I felt like we were being watched, and there's something around. I'm like, I don't like the feeling here, Mike, because the first sound that hit the water was definitely not a beaver slapping its tail, because we heard that when we came to the pond. They usually alert each other. They're slapping the water like the people are here. And this was long after we heard the beavers, and this was like a kaploosh. This was not a beaver slap. And I kept saying it to him, like I got a bad feeling. I got a bad if we get a rock any closer to us, I'm out of here. I'm just telling you now. And I had a feeling it was going to. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, one comes right over us from behind us now, and 10 feet into the water, and we were 10 feet off the shore, so it was right between us too, 20 feet away. And I went into, because I, like I said, I kind of worked myself into, hey, something's got my hairs on the back of my neck, and a lot of people say that you get a feeling, a sixth sense that something's around before something happens, and I was definitely on alert. And my buddy had a night scope, so when the first splash hit, there was nothing in the water. He said I could see the water rippling, but there wasn't a beaver anyways. I knew it, unless it was a 200-pound beaver doing a cannonball, you know.
Right.
So as soon as it hit, I just we gotta go, and it was an interesting experience. But that's the most recent for me. And I just got a good friend of ours in Connecticut 2 weeks ago had a rock thrown at him, and it just seems like a lot of that lately. I've heard from other people that if it wanted to, it probably could have. We wouldn't have made it out of there. I always come back to all the people that have made reports and incidents and being scared out. They all live to tell about it. And if they wanted to, they'd just come up from behind you and squash it like a grape. But I think it's just they want you gone. They know no one goes out there. This is far from any camps. Just a really remote pond where people don't really use or go to. It's not recreational, and it's not far from where other incidents have happened with members in Squatchachusetts. So that's the most recent for me.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you hear that a lot too with like the almost like a beaver slap, and then you hear like sort of like it sounded like the rock or boulder. It almost sounded like a boulder with the way you're describing it too. But I mean, at the same time, it's like it kind of makes me wonder because of the area that you're talking about. You would know it better than I would, obviously. But like, is there any type of quote boulders or any type of big rocks around the area?
No, my partner the next morning he took a walk around to that side, and it was just game trails and normal, no excessive size boulders. Just in fact, anything you wanted to throw rocks, you'd have to like kick it out of the dirt or dig it out. There's no, like say like a river or where there's just rocks everywhere. It wasn't like that at all. You
Hmm.
had to dig a rock out, and like I said, it could have been a log. I doubt it was a log though, but it was something big and heavy, like bowling ball size. Because I always described the sound. It was like a
Like a patoosh.
kapoosh. It was
Yeah.
yeah. It was almost like two sounds where you could something massive hit the water and then the splash. And the other one wasn't as big. It was probably a baseball size, but it was enough to be close to you and happen right there. But I had just said, hey, if we get another one any closer, I'm out of here. And within 5 minutes, we were just sitting there. And before all this happened, I was like, it was very quiet. There wasn't much noise of anything going on, except the beavers when we first come in. But then they were quiet. They just leave or go to their dens or something. And we never heard that again. And so, yeah, that was pretty eye opening because I was actually asked Mike. I was playing on my phone, like, all right, we'll hang out here for a bit, go to camp, get a fire going. One of those nights where just nothing happening. And within minutes, that this he did the whistle, and I goes, hey, sure. I was kind of kidding, but not. Natives say don't do that. And then I did the drum, and then I thought better of that afterwards. That they didn't like the drum. That's what he kept saying when we got back to camp. Because I don't think they liked your drum. But it's a deep bass sounding kind of. You hold it underarm and hit it with a Native American drum. Actually,
So that it's kind of like hollowed out. Then, if I'm
yeah,
understanding it.
very deep sound that you could kind of hear it going down the pond,
Oh,
echoing. Yeah, it was
yep.
pretty cool.
Hmm. Yeah, that sounds cool. Now, you mentioned an interesting thing too that I just want to get back to you to, which is the sound. So I'm assuming before it went quiet, you could actually hear like I'm just trying to think crickets, bird, not maybe not birds at nighttime, but more like crickets because you hear crickets at night, maybe frogs, even like nocturnal type creatures. But when you start saying it went quiet, do you mean like the woods itself went quiet?
Yeah, yeah, it was kind of when we come in, it was normal. Like I said, the beavers, you can have, typical forest sounds, but it didn't take long. And I said, I goes, wow, it's really quiet now. for the third week of June, it should be very active. It's spring going into summer. It just didn't sound right. I'm like, wow, there's nothing. No owls, no nighttime sounds, which is weird.
Mm-hmm.
And so it did have kind of a weird vibe before all this.
Wow.
And we're actually going back out there soon to do before it gets too cold. Because I think they move around. I don't think they're in the same spots all the time. Because some spots we've went to where stuff has happened and then there's nothing. Other spots, you get a report a few miles away a
Mm-hmm.
couple days later. So I think that's how they stay. They don't stay in one spot for too long. And they
Right.
just, all the forests are all connected. So they could be in Central Mass one night and couple days they're out in Western Mass. I think this is just my opinion only. That's no proof of that, but I think they do. I think there'd be more dwellings or structures that if they made these things to survive the winters, there could be caves. There's hidden caves, and I would think the way they can rip trees down and move brush, they could cover up a cave entrance easily in the winter and just come in and out when they want. And the storms get too much, crawl back in, and we'd probably never even see them. I'm sure there's areas where people just don't go. Swamps, a lot of swamps. People just, unless you're hunting or doing something like that, but swamps are generally a place where not a lot of people go
No,
unless
I
they are looking for these or other critters, you know.
right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, as much as I am into the subject, but not like on the boots yet. But kind of like what you just said, I also feel that as the weather changes, you're right. They don't stay in one area. They got to move because what's the word I'm looking for? The plantation of what was growing at the time is probably dying out for the season kind of thing. So now what would have been their food source is now declining because of it getting colder and the freeze and all that. So yeah, so it does make sense that they would need to move closer. Even maybe that's why you hear sometimes they come into other people's areas to maybe dig through the trash or something and whatever else, just to make sure they can even get a bite to eat, per se, I guess.
Right. Opportunists, yeah, I agree. That's Vermont, especially Vermont, New Hampshire, Western Mass, tons of farms. New York,
Yeah.
um, farm after farm, orchards. There's a great video from Vermont. It was under the apple tree, a game camera.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and
Frank. Yeah.
I think they know where all these spots are. And like I said, they don't. But again, anything I come up with is all my opinion. That's all it is, and no facts to any of it. But like I said, it's from 20 years of digging into it. It's for what it's worth. It's just an opinion, but it's just loaded with, and they're not going to wear out one area where everything's picked clean, then move on. I think they get what they need for a day or two, move along. Uh, Not just farms and vegetables and fruits, but deer. They've been known to take deer out, and I think in the winter too more. That could be even more prevalent, and that's what they need more because the farms are all picked out and frozen.
Yep.
And it just an opinion, but plants too. Plants. There's a lot of edible food out in the woods. But I think deer is a staple, especially as it gets colder.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that would make sense that, if they were to migrate, and this is just an example in my own opinion for those listening too, is like if they are moving from the northeastern sometime to maybe let's just say more west because of it getting warmer, maybe that's why some areas spike up with sightings versus around here maybe. And I'm saying that as Vermont because I don't really, as far as I'm aware, I don't really know that many sightings around wintertime for us, except for maybe around the end of August to October, really, right before the November month. But then I do have heard that there is some sort of sightings around November and December, but it's very rare, I'll say. So it makes me wonder if they're going more toward the warmer climate, just because of maybe the food source of being able to provide for the next whatever month you want to call it for winter, because as you know, Dave, you never know what to expect anymore with the East Coast with winter time.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I was supposed to get a good one this winter, but I think too. But then you think that the sightings in all the cold weather states very active. Alaska, Canada is one of the most active. British Columbia, where it's
Yep.
very cold zones. Look at the Yeti up in Mount Everest, up in the 0 degree.
Mm.
Russia, the Russian Almasty. So it doesn't affect them physically, the cold, but food wise, it has to, because if they're gonna follow the critters, the food chain's gonna move wherever the food is. And a lot of people, there was a good researcher in Colorado noticed that the majority of sightings in higher ground, uh, till the winter, the deer come down, and deer and other animals come down off the mountain, and they think that's why there's more sightings then. But in the good weather, they're going to go up. It's all conjecture, but it seems that way in all these areas.
Well, that makes sense. I just recently listened to a podcast where the guy was talking about he was out hunting or hiking, probably hunting, I think, if I remember the story. He was talking about how he went up to the top of this hill and he found like some dead rabbits, almost as if they were getting prepared for the winter time. Probably because they say the higher the climate, the higher the atmosphere or climate, the colder it's going to be. So maybe what he found was possibly, whatever it was, and I don't know. And I'm just saying that because I don't know if he really did happen to stumble across something like a Bigfoot that would be preparing him for the winter. But I mean, that would make sense. Almost try to find like a cave or something. I'll just say for the example where they're kind of using it as a refrigerator, freezer to kind of store it that way. So that way they at least have something during the winter time.
Right,
So I
I've,
could see
I've
that.
heard stories about that also, about them packing stuff into like snow piles or snow drifts, basically using it like a cooler or refrigerator. I have
Right.
heard a few accounts of that.
That's interesting. Maybe, maybe
Right.
that's the. Yeah, I mean, it would make sense because how else would they be? I mean, well, I mean, I guess Dave, you would know more than I would in this case, but like, when it comes to like the wintertime with snow, you would think you would be able to find their footprints a lot, but then you hear accounts where they almost act like they're floating. They're not even, do I dare say, like touch the ground per se, because they just look like they're floating. So I
Right.
mean, how could you not misidentify a footprint in that nature? I guess is what I'm trying to get at, because I remember one time somebody had sent me a photo, and because of me not with the trained eye, I couldn't have told you that it was a bear track, you know. And for me, it could have been anything, It could have been a Sasquatch, could have been a bear, it could have been, whatever. But it just looked weird. But you know, when you start having other people, especially hunters, tell you this is what you're looking for like a bear track, especially in snow, then when you actually see it more, it's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But for somebody like me that doesn't have that trained eye, and then you get people saying, "You're so stupid," blah blah blah. It's like, well, how the hell am I supposed to learn?
Right. Right. A lot of things are a lot of the track lines from Bigfoots have been seen in the snow, and they're in a perfectly straight line, which is how you can tell the difference from a bear or from a human. We walk kind of side to side ourselves.
Right.
Excuse me. And bear, a lot of times their rear paw will step into their front paw, but you can tell it's quadrupedal, and you can tell it's not straight in a line like a Bigfoot.
Right.
And
Right.
those have been found in the winter too, so that tells you they don't. I don't think the cold affects them physically. It's
Right.
just more affects the food source, and that's why they might have to move, or why they're not as active in the winter. Um, I mean, look at bears; they disappear. A lot of animals just burrow themselves, and
Hibernate. Yeah.
yeah, their bodies are made to withstand almost going to sleep for the winter. Like literally. But
Yeah.
I don't think they have that at all, because there's tons of sightings in, like I said, cold areas, northern hemisphere, all around the world. There's all winter stuff, and I don't think that affects them. They think they get a fat, really insulated skin where they can hold the heat in, and a lot of animals, even deers aren't very overly furry or hairy, but they survive the winter. A lot of animals around here still in the winter. We
Hmm.
see tracks, so I'm right through year round.
So, and I'm just curious for your own opinion. So, how do I want to word this before we get into your stories? Because I'd like to have you share those stories too, but I'm also curious of your opinion at your same time, which is so you hear on one side. I'll just put it as like one side, this side thing. Um, One side they say because they don't know, just like me. Like I will not say I'm an like I don't know that much about this subject. That's why I talk to people like you because that's how I learn. Uh, I like I tell a lot of people, do you want me to talk about like the paranormal aspect, ghost spirits? I know more about that because of my own experiences with that versus something like this. But anyway, so what I would like to ask for the example with your own opinion is so one side is they believe that they're made out of hair, which is why they don't shed as much versus the other side where they think it's more fur, but that's why sometimes you see pieces of hair. So, what's your thought on the whole? Do you think these creatures have hair or fur?
I think they do. I think it's hair by the descriptions. There's been hair samples turned in, and caught on a fence or something like that, a tree. Lot of that, but a lot of descriptions, especially in the face. They could see part through it, but then it looked like more like a very thick. Um, I've heard it say, yeah, it had hair on its face, but it was very thin. I could see the cheeks and the skin on the face, but it was like a kind of like a straggly, something that's never been shaved. But
Oh, yep.
as a rule, yeah, I mean, most descriptions it was very hairy, hair all over its body, or but a lot of them too. If you look at the Patterson film, there's hair all over, but certain areas of the back and the body, you can see the muscles, but you can see the hair on it too, where it's not overly thick enough that enough where people say it wasn't a human. It had too much hair all over it, but enough to see the muscles, enough to see the body itself through the hair. And the Patterson film's a good example of that, because you can tell it's hair all over, but certain areas it just looks like especially a lot of people that have gotten a look at the face up at a decent distance, and they'll say,
Mhm.
"Oh, it was more human than animal than it was." Wasn't a hairy ape. The hairy ape theory is, I think, it's harder and harder to say it's an ape or an undiscovered ape, which a lot of people lean to. That's the big difference in groups of believers that it's just a flesh and blood animal, hasn't been caught yet. I kind of started out on that train, but I'm more in the group now that there's so many people have said, no, it was more human, that someone that had a good look at it, like a hunter through his scope, or he zeroed right in on the face and said, I couldn't shoot. This thing was like either a guy in a suit, but it was some type of man. It was,
Yep.
is it a hermit
I
out
didn't want
there?
to. Yeah, I didn't want to shoot a human. Yeah, that's what you
Right.
hear a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. A lot of hunters, a lot of people that have gotten good looks at it with binoculars that it hasn't seen them yet. So they've been able to look at it for 5 or 10 minutes and get a really good look at it. And not only does it walk like a man, it looks like a man in a lot of features, but definitely too big, too wild looking, too hairy, where they can say, all right, that's not a man, but it's not an animal either, but it's somewhere in the middle there. I think it's a type of hybrid that if you look at our fingerprints and our dermal ridges, these have the same things, but they're not in the same direction. It's its own species. It's totally opposite of a human, but it is human-like in dermal ridges aspects and
Right.
features.
Yeah, I don't have the image pulled up, but now that you just kind of say that, so one thing that I liked going back to the Whitehall Fest for a minute, but you on your table you had this amazing cast. It was probably a replica for all I know, but man, I can't think of the cast name. But anyway, I think it was that 13-inch handprint that you had.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, not gonna lie. I mean, I've probably seen a lot more obviously footprint cast than handprint. So when I saw this 13-inch monster handprint, man, like I actually had to ask you like which way is it? Like is it like the hand facing down like this for the example here, Dave, or like is it like he placed it on the ground per se? So can you just talk to us about that for a minute? Because that was so interesting.
Yeah, that's one of my. That is a replica. You're right. That's a replica of a handprint from Washington State, from the famous researcher Paul Freeman. There's a famous film. He also got video of it, but he is, in my opinion, is the most underrated or less talked about researcher that has come up with uh, dozens of casts, literally. The handprints, two different handprints, a knuckle print, several ankle prints, the knee prints. These are all from the same area coming up. It was coming up out of a muddy bank, out of
Oh wow.
a water spring. And there's another handprint. It's probably half the size of that one, but that is like at these things that people go to or displays or museums. There are a lot of footprints. There's Jeff Meldrum had over 300. Cliff
Oh yeah.
Barrickman probably the same. So there's hundreds of legit casts out there that people have an interest in. But I noticed a lot of people in Whitehall that weren't coming to my table, but they do a double take at the hand. And I say, oh, I've seen tons of footprints, but I've never seen a handprint. So that when I bring that one out, that's a big draw for people coming over and looking, because, like I said, you see a lot of footprints. You're seeing there's dozens of those, but I'm pretty. I like that one. I had to have that one. I was buying them off Dr. Jeff Meldrum a long time ago, actually, and he was like, "Oh, I got go on my site. You'll see what other ones." And I saw the handprint, and I asked him, and it cost a little more to ship it because it was so heavy.
Oh
But
yeah, I
I'm
believe
so
it.
glad I got that one now. Now that I have it, but
Oh yeah.
yeah, you could tell this thing. If this thing grabbed a deer or anything,
Oh, it was
it'd be
done for,
like us.
man.
It'd be like us grabbing an egg in our hand, or a grape. But yeah, that's massive. And I usually a lot of kids. or women will take a picture of it, and it covers their whole torso basically when they're
Oh my
holding it.
god.
And a lot of people take a picture with that one. But yeah, that's I want to say 1992, 93, Walla Walla, Washington.
That's crazy, man. Yeah. I remember I had to do like a double take myself with that just because, like I was saying, I'm used to seeing the footprint more, unfortunately, and stuff like that. 1986 in the Blue Mountains in the Washington Oregon border. Trying to figure out if there's anything else. Was it 9-inch across the widest part of the palm? Oh yeah, yep. They measure 9-inch across the widest part of the palm, and the hand is almost 13-inch long, including the third digit. Yeah. So again, it's crazy, and then down below, it sounds like this 13-inch handprint was also part of 17-inch track that was associated with it, if I'm reading this right. So, I mean, that's a big boy then, or a girl, because, I
Right.
mean, well, that actually brings up an interesting point. So, Dave, have we gotten to the point where we could look at, like, let's just say a handprint or footprint and determine what is a male and a female yet of these things, or have we not gotten that far? I'm just curious more.
Right. I've never heard of anything about hands, but there's another famous print from the same area. It's called the butt print, a butt cast, and it's on the hill where these things were. It had to have been a group of them, and it can clearly tell it's a female. That is the only cast that I know of. I mean, we got ideas. The Patterson film is obviously a female, so the tracks along there that they got, they can figure out the length of the foot, female, 7.5 feet. So anything bigger, I would put as a male, like 18, 19 inches have been found, 20, 21 on extreme, on the far end of the spectrum. But that's got to be 9 or 10 feet. I think as the foot gets bigger, obviously I think the body gets bigger and the
Right.
animal gets bigger or creature,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is.
Yeah, that it just boggled my brain. That's for sure. But I know I was just curious. But that makes sense that you say that anything bigger than like a 7.5 would be considered. Well, you would think would be considered a male. I mean, that does make sense. But then again, if we also look at a different animal species, and this is just for the example here, but like spiders, a female spider is bigger than a male spider, and as we know, once they mate, the female kills the male. So I mean,
Yeah,
um, so I guess that's why it kind of fascinates me, and that's kind of why, ironically, I wanted to ask if we kind of gotten that far yet, just because I mean, what, like, who is bigger in the end?
right. Right. No, it's a good question. It could be more narrow. Male might be more robust and a wider being that wider foot. Because
Hmm.
there's casts from Roger Patterson also from the area of the film site, but it's totally different foot. It's a lot wider and a couple inches longer, actually, which they always joke that this could be Patty's mate or Patty's husband, but it's interesting. The same area. In the
Hmm.
film itself, there's no doubt about it. It's a female. There was no
Right.
question about that. So we know that was 7 to 7.5 and
Oh, feet
15
high.
inch.
Yeah.
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 So
Yeah.
these
Huge.
these were these were 17.5 to 18.
That's
It's got to
crazy.
be an 8 or 9 footer. It's got to be the male. They're a lot wider of a foot. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Right. Yeah. And I'll add this: like when you actually see Patty in that film, I don't know. It's probably been mentioned a few times, but I've noticed she's pretty. At least to me, it looks like she's pretty groomed. I think that a lot of people have mentioned that before too, but she does. She really does. But to also quote you about you can tell Patty's a female is yeah. I mean, for those that may not have seen it, I guess because we are in a new generation where now people are becoming more into it now, probably because of all the shows and people are more comfortable to talk about it now. Kind of like with the whole UFO stuff. Now that it's being talked about, now it's almost like becoming the new norm, obviously, but. I guess what I'm getting at too is, yeah, for those that may want to check it out, and you can tell she has breasts. I'm just gonna say that's how you know she's a female,
Yep.
basically. So, but yeah,
Yeah, especially now with the new enhancements they have, they can zoom in on. They'll take that section alone and put it in a box and zoom it in, and you can see the breasts bouncing into each other, bouncing off. They didn't have costumes in 1967 that could do that, and someone is coming up with a hoax in a suit. They were pretty clever to say, hey, let's make this a female with realistic breasts, and yeah, let's go all up. You know what I mean? It's just unbelievable that
yeah,
someone could do that back then. I think it's impossible.
I think it's impossible, especially for what there was for a costume back in the day. So I will agree with that it would be impossible compared to today,
Yeah,
especially the realistic muscles. Like we
yeah,
can't forget that can't be done in costume. I don't even think we can still do that in
right,
costume today. So
right. A
I
lot of
mean,
there's been a lot of Hollywood special effects guys that there's no way that could have been done in 1967. They didn't have stretch fur. They didn't have, like you said, you could see all the muscles moving and as they should. Just there's no way it could have been a costume.
no, no.
You know.
But yeah. So I guess Dave, so you have some stories that you would like to share before we'll wrap this up, because I don't want to take any more time, obviously, of you for already giving the generous time that you are allowing anyway. But yeah, so what stories do you have to share?
Mostly just sighting reports. Like I said, I want to see one myself. My experience, the most recent, the rocks thrown at us. We've had two incidents where trees have been broken, like smaller trees, saplings, not a huge tree, but snapped, shaken, snapped, and slammed on the ground. That's been twice. That was the most recent was 2019, and we had therms on it right where it went down. Not I don't know 50 yards from us, pretty close, and we got therms right on it. Nothing. That's the mind-boggling, baffling. Something just pushed this tree over, and there's nothing there. That's what's baffling us. That what happened to it? Did it go into an orb and just because we've seen a lot of orbs? Like you can't say it was, but you can't say it wasn't. But what I always say is on certain things, vocalizations, trees coming down, you can rule out what it wasn't. You can't really say what did it, but you can definitely say what didn't do it because there was nothing there to say, oh, that's what it was. You know what I'm saying? There's no heat signature. Um, People have heard that stuff happen, then hear something running through the woods taking off. Okay, something physical did that.
Like a
Uh,
freight train running through the
right,
woods.
right.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
exactly how people have described it. It sounded like a freight train or a bull running through the woods,
Yeah.
And that's happened where people have reported that, and it comes all the way down the hill to their camp, and then there's nothing. It
Which mind boggles me, because if you can hear, like, I guess from what I've heard too, Dave, I know you have something similar, but like you hear something where it's gonna, what I guess I could say it's like a bluff charge. They know it's coming right at them, but then it stopped, and it's like, where is it? It's like,
right,
why can't they see it when they know it was coming right at them? That
right,
just boggles me. So, but then you start to hear. I guess maybe I could throw it in because maybe this could be what they're doing, but I don't know. But maybe they're getting down into what people now call it the spider crawl. So are they just that low to the ground? So maybe they are camouflaging I guess, themselves within the ground, so that's why we can't see them because we're not looking down?
Well, we looked up and down. There was nothing at all. But I know a lot of people that have described the spider crawl, and so I know they do that, and they're capable of that. And that site where the handprints are from, they assumed it was a spider crawl up the bank because there was handprints and footprints. So they think it might have just spread up the hill. And I've read that in a lot of reports that they're as fast on all fours as they're as fast on two legs, which is pretty creepy. Like a lot of people have described it, wasn't the physical appearance, but it scared me more how fast they moved. Um, there's been reports people running along the side of the car on a country road and looking in the window. And there's been several of those on highways. So that's another whole. How can they crash through the woods? Then there's nothing. And then other people have had them walk right into camp and not hurt a twig. So they can be stealthy, silent, or they can cause a ruckus. Why? That's the big question: is why do sometimes they come down like a bulldozer, knocking trees over, and then they don't do nothing, and other times they'll walk right into camp and you didn't hear a sound, and they got no lights. They see it the dark, and they don't step on a twig. It's just baffling how they can go from one extreme to the other and sneak right up on you. You don't need them standing right there. I had a good friend in Georgia tell me that he was out all day and night on the game trails, looking here, looking there, everywhere. And he's falling asleep at the fire, having a drink, and he heard a twig snap, and he looked over, and it was 10 feet away, right out in the open, just staring at him. Like, hey, I'm right here, looking for me? And it's baffling how they can be like ninjas and walk right up to you, or they can cause a ruckus and scare you the hell out of that. So I don't think it's an accident when they leave and they're knocking trees over. I think it's by choice that, that's their way. I want them gone, or I'm going to scare them so bad they ain't coming back here. Or, it just adds to the mystery. It's just baffling, really.
The only thing I'll just comment to that is maybe the one that seemed ruckus. I think that's the word I want to use when it comes to camp, and I'll use the camping for this example, which is like the juveniles because they're curious. But then maybe you got mom or pop, they're both kind of like being like, "Hey, you're being too loud," or and maybe that could be what's going on. Is just that the kid is the kid. The juvenile is more curious because it's kind of like our own kid. They get as they grow up, they get curious because they might not have seen a campfire before. They're smelling something new. They're seeing tent. They don't know what this is. Why are there people here just like camping out? With to them, who knows what they're really thinking of when it comes to that aspect. So I don't know. But what was I going to say too? Oh yeah, in that episode too, they were talking about how they found it fascinating that um, when they could hear this thing kind of going through their cooler, they threw out like the raw hot dog, but they took their raw steak. So that's kind of interesting how they won't eat the hot dogs, but they'll take the raw steak.
Right.
So I don't know if you heard anything about that.
I not about the steak and the hot dogs, but of taking certain things and leaving other things.
Yes.
I heard a few stories about that, and I have heard from actually not the guy with the apple tree, but a very similar situation. There was a guy in New Hampshire that had pear trees, and he was getting them raided. And one summer this was when we were up there a handful of years ago. Him and his wife were out in a summer night, and all they could smell were the pears, and they were like, "Wow, those are why don't you come out tomorrow and pick them all? Not a big tree, but it had a fence around it, a 6-foot fence, so deer can't get into and other animals really can't get to it.
Yep.
And they were all picked clean. And he was saying it's only, I think it was in the fall before the fall harvest. And the next day he went out, the tree was empty. He goes, it was the night after me and my wife were saying, oh, I can't wait to have some pears. And the next day they come out, they were all gone. But other people have said that have farms, I've read a lot that they don't take it all. They always leave something for the people so they don't, you know what I mean? We'll take what we
Yep.
need, but we're going to leave you some too. So
Yeah, they're being
that's all.
generous.
Yeah, right. We're not going to take it all off you, but we'll leave you some.
Hey, I
Funny.
mean, I wish they know manners sometimes.
Right.
All right, Dave. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share, or is that it for now, buddy?
That's it for now. I'm going to go out tomorrow and try again. Just take a walk. Like I say, even if for me now it's I don't really have nothing to prove to anyone else. I don't need to find evidence. It'd be nice. I've never seen a footprint in the ground at all of anything other than a boot or a human. I don't expect to. I've had some screams. I've had trees broken. I had the rocks thrown at me this year. So I don't really need, after all these years of doing it, it's like I don't need to prove it to anyone else now. I kind of just want to see it, and which I've always said, I just want to see one. But hopefully that comes up, that happens, and I can just enjoy it. And even if nothing happens, it's a night out in the woods, or it's a nice walk in the woods. I take
That's
it
right.
for what it is. If you do, great. Chances are not, because most people looking and out looking don't have sightings. Other people, they see it by accident, or they, taking a ride at an odd hour of the night to the store and it crosses the road. There it is. When other people are, a lot of the researchers I know, most researchers, former skeptics. So they say, hang in there, you'll see one. The more you put yourself out there, it's just like playing the lottery,
Oh
buying the
yeah,
winning ticket.
totally.
It's like, hey, you might see one tonight. You might. Chances are you won't. But there's that one chance. Like the old joke is. So you're telling me there's a chance, right?
That's right, Dave. Well, Dave, I appreciate your time, and I love your stories, and best of luck to have your own actual sighting, man. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul. Great
You're
talking
welcome.
here, and thank you for having me on.
No problem. We'll have to talk again
Again.
in a different aspect, I guess. But thank you nonetheless.
Right, I'll be out. They already asked me to do Whitehall next year, so I'll be up there next year. Looking
All right,
forward to it.
I'll see you next year then.
Well, maybe not before then. We'll get together for something, but if not, see you again.
Yeah, for sure, man. Keep me posted. Do you do stuff around Bennington? I'm trying to remember now.
We have been up there a couple times. Bennington,
Well,
Vermont is.
yep.
We actually did an expedition there with the Nesra group. Some interesting, nothing concrete, nothing come out of it. But again, back then I was just learning the ropes and
Hey,
learning how to camp.
the Boy Scout, man.
Right.
That's kind of funny because I used to be out in the woods when I was little. So like that was me. And then as I got older, we kind of moved to the city, unfortunately, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I miss having woods around me, dude.
Yeah. I like going out there just for that. Couple days out of the city, and then it's always the ride back where you're like,
I
back
don't
to the
wanna.